Jagan, we can start.
Jagan, mic is muted. I think you have to unmute it. Jagan,
sir. Yes, sir. Sure. Okay. Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So,
Good evening. Good evening.
I welcome all for this CP session on GST latest amendments by our beloved Kutty sir, Chandrasekhar Kutty sir. So we will straight away go to the CP seminar. Before we go to the seminar, I would take the privilege myself to read the introduction about my partner and our speaker of the day, Kutty sir, Chandrasekhar Kutty sir. So Chandrasekhar Kutty sir is a fellow CA and a partner in Mohan and Chandrasekhar Chartered Accountants since the year 2000. Head office is located in Bangalore and branches at Hosur and Chennai. His qualification is BCom and passed CA in the year 1999. Completed diploma in insurance and a risk management course from ICA. Completed certificate course in service tax from ICA. Completed a certification course in GST from ICA and from Hiragange and Associates and A to Z Corp Consultants. Other achievements: he was the president of our Krishnagiri District Chartered Accountant Association 2 years and was convener of our Hosur CP Study Circle for 2 years. Presently convener of Hosur GST Study Circle and mentored by CA Madhukar Hiragange. Chairman of Hosur Roundtable and 40 Owners Association. Present president of Yesmen Wisemen Club of Hosur and was in various area leadership and roles in Roundtable and won several areas and national awards. With this very brief introduction, I welcome Kutty sir, the speaker of the day, for the session. Actually, just an information. It's just started raining in Bangalore side, so the power may interrupt this program. I will join immediately. Just in case, please proceed with the program without and have backup arrangements for your power and internet also. So with this, I mute myself and over the session to Kutty sir.
Thank you, Jagan. Yeah, so it started raining here also. So here already the power has gone. So now I am powerless. So thank you, Jagan and Satish, for giving this opportunity to address the members of Hosur CP Study Circle. It's my privilege to address all the members here. So it's a good move to have our own members, give them opportunity to take seminars for our Hosur members. And we can see good numbers. Actually, the members are actually increasing. Already we have 35, 36 members who have already joined, members plus students. So I thank you for giving that opportunity. Well, the topic today is given to me is amendments in GST. It is a very GST amendments means every minute or every hour, I think there are some amendments which come. So recent, that also recent amendments. So recent means what we should take, last 6 months, last 3 months, or last 1 month. So it was very tough. So what I have chosen is I have chosen from January 2021 till actually today. There are some circular which came now also. So I am trying to touch upon that. So GST basically was, when it was introduced, it was supposed to be very good and simple tax. But I think as we are completing 4 years, we are making a mockery of GST now. And we had excise, we had VAT and service tax. All those were supposed to be complicated with, which was going to be replaced with GST. But as the amendments are going on, as the changes are coming in GST, it is becoming very, very tough to comply with the GST law. And I don't know how in future, if such trust deficit is there between us and the government, as the taxpayer and the government, how far it is going to be successful, we don't know. I'm audible, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the changes, what kind of changes it is coming in GST today, we can clearly see there is a clear trust deficit between the government and taxpayers. They don't trust us. So that is the reason they are bringing so many new forms, so many new methods to get the information from us. And lot of powers are given to the officers, lot of powers. Before, we thought everything is going to be technology enabled, but slowly, it is coming like an Inspector Raj, where a lot of power is given to the officers. And of course, if the powers are given to officers, we know what is going to happen. So things are not very good. If the today's discussion itself, we will find out, and it will come to we will come to a conclusion ki how the things are changing in GST. So to start with, I request this session to be more interactive. Let us not be one-sided session where I just talk and you listen. So let it be more interactive. And if anything you have to share, you can share. If I am going wrong somewhere, you can correct me. And I may be asking few questions. So I request everybody to answer or at least participate. So I will know that you are not sleeping and listening to the seminar. So I will share a PPT. Is it visible?
Yes, yeah, visible.
Yeah. So, like I told, recent changes. So, this recent changes, I am taking it from what is applicable from 1/1/2021. So, I'll be covering only what major changes has happened from 1/1/2021. So, the first, it is Rule 86B. This is a classic case of rule overpowering the act. So I'll come to that later on, but this is one of the classic examples where there is nothing mentioned in the act, but rule takes over. And this all is going to be challenged in the court of law. And I'm sure this will not be in the court of law, this will not stand. So what is Rule 86B? 86B is if your turnover in a month is more than 50 lakhs, which excludes your exempted and zero rated tax turnover, you have to compulsorily pay 1% of your outward supply, your liability in cash. So you are not supposed to pay, if you have got 100% as ITC already, you cannot offset that 100% against ITC. 99% only is maximum allowed to be offset against ITC. 1% compulsorily has to be paid through cash. So this is applicable from 1/1/2021. This notifications came on 22nd of December 2020. So this is applicable for turnover more than 50 lakhs. Now this turnover more than 50 lakhs in a month, you should take it each separately every month, 50 lakhs. So suppose this month is 50 lakhs, next month is 40 lakhs, again 30 lakhs. So individually every month you have to take, or once you cross 50 lakhs, so every month you have to follow this. So what is the rule? So just somebody can just throw light on this, whether you have to take cumulatively for all the months or every month we have to take this 50 lakhs. I want participation by everyone. I'm not going to just talk and then you have to listen. So you have to just guess, or whatever you know, you can tell, not an issue.
Yeah, I think preceding financial year, 50 lakhs average.
Yeah. So any contrary view, or everybody agrees to that? Any contrary view?
Like as I say, it will not stand in court of law, definitely.
No, that's okay. That is a secondary issue. Now
Yeah.
this 86B, the notification, the rule says it is 50 lakhs per month. So whether individually 50 lakhs we have to take, or 6 crores if you have crossed, that means it is applicable to you.
It is the rule. If you plain reading, it says it exceeds 50 lakhs in a month. In a month, it could be any month. I think with any month, if you cross 50 lakhs, then this applies.
Yeah.
In
So
any
any
of the 12 months.
In the preceding 12 months, isn't it?
yeah.
So as
So-
usual, lot of scope for controversy.
So yeah, so so Manisha told the preceding financial year, but the rule doesn't say preceding. Rule says 50 lakhs a month. So 50 lakhs a month, you can actually, like Ravi sir told, 50 lakhs. Any of the month, if you cross 50 lakhs, you have to abide by it. So suppose if you cross 50 lakhs in between the year, what happens? So what happens to the previous year? So it is only the 50 lakhs in a month return. So if this month return, if you are filing and you cross 50 lakhs, you are not supposed to pay 100% to ITC, it is only 99%. So next month, if you have a turnover of outward supply of 40 lakhs, you did not, 86B is not applicable to you, is my opinion, because what they say is if your turnover exceeds 50 lakhs in a month, so for that month only we are going to calculate 86B is applicable only for the return for that month. So the rule applicable only for that month. Next month, if it is less, you need not apply. But
Can
going
I
forward,
interrupt?
yes, sir.
Can I interrupt?
Yes, sir.
See what I'm saying, they are only saying 1% to be paid in cash, right?
Yeah. Who is this actually? Srivatsan. Okay.
Yeah, Srivatsan, yeah. See, if you look at which industry will have, 1%, less than 1% gross profit. I think if you have 100 clients, none of your clients will have that 1% GP, no?
No, basically, Srivatsan, see, this rule has been brought to catch hold of fraudsters.
Correct.
Yeah. So what happens is,
I think this will not concern for a regular. This will not be a concern for a good and straightforward taxpayer.
maybe possible. What happens is, Srivatsan, it is possible because what happens in a month or two, you may have a very high inward supply.
Correct.
For stock purpose or maybe
No,
heavy investment.
In that
heavy
particular month, you cannot claim more than 99%, but it gets carry forward, isn't it? Next
Correct.
month.
So
nobody can operate. Nobody can operate with less than 1% of GP. That's what I'm saying. So definitely it gets offset in a month or two, right?
Right. So no, it is for 99% taxpayers, it will not be applicable. But yes, there may be cases, genuine cases where it may be applicable. So this is the rule now.
Yeah, inverted duty structure and all that, those people will be straight away affected.
Yeah. So what are the exceptions? Exceptions to the rule. So exceptions to the rule is if the said person, proprietor, karta, managing director, or any of the two partners, whole-time director, have paid income tax more than 1 lakh rupees in the last 2 financial years, for which the time limit to file return under one section 139(1) has expired. So when we are talking today, for assessment year 2021 and 1920, you should have paid more than 1 lakh rupee income tax. If he has paid, then 86B is not applicable. Second is, if ITC they have claimed as refund, if they have done zero rated supply or inverted duty structure. So this is the point when Srivatsan was talking about inverted duty structure. So if there is an inverted duty structure or a zero rated supply and they have claimed ITC refund more than 1 lakh rupees, then this provision is not applicable. And you have to take this rule cumulatively. That is, from April, now suppose we are in September or October, and if we are in October and we are seeing this 1%, cumulatively, if from April to October, if he has paid more than 1%, then October he need not pay that 1%, he can adjust everything against ITC. Cumulatively from the day one of the financial year till that month you have to see cumulative. Then government departments, of course, any stringent rule will not be applicable to government department, PSUs, local authority or statutory bodies, and commissioner or authorized officer may remove such restrictions to safeguard as may be prescribed. So these are the exceptions to this rule. So 86B is not applicable to these people. Now there is one more amendment which has come. They have delinked the claiming of ITC of debit note, so with invoice. So before that, there was a controversy or there was a confusion where 16.4 under section 16.4 you could have claimed you can claim input tax credit. What is the time limit? Till September of the subsequent financial year. So 31st March 2021 income tax input tax credit you can claim up to a maximum date of September return. So what happens to a debit note? Suppose some invoice is raised in March 2021 and there is a debit note which is raised pertaining to that invoice in October 2021. Can you claim the ITC, the person who is paying the tax, can he claim the ITC for that particular debit note? Invoice is in March 2021. There is a debit note raised in October 2021. So that October 2021, there is a tax component also which is put on the debit note. So can the recipient claim the ITC for that particular debit note in the older provision?
No. No, it is beyond September of the subsequent year.
Yes. So there was a confusion. It's not clear. So now what they have done is they have changed the provision itself in the act and made it clear so that there is no confusion. So now what they have done is, before the amendment, it was, the wording was which such invoice or invoice relating to such debit note pertains. So now that is changed to such invoice. They have split that into such invoice or debit note. So even though debit note of the previous financial year, you are giving it in the next subsequent financial year, you can claim the ITC and it is not linked to your invoice. So this is one clarity which they have got. So this retrospectively, they have made the amendment from 1st July 2017 and this actually was brought in Finance Bill 2020. This could not be brought as retrospective, but again there is a thought, there is a second school of thought where they say you can, because there was from day one there was a confusion, you can claim the credit, input as credit. So even though this provision has come from 1/1/2021, actually from retrospective you can claim, but as per the notification number 92, it is effective from 1/1/2021. Then there is an amendment in validity of e-way bill. Before that, e-way bill 1 day 100 kilometers was the validity, which they have increased to 200 kilometers from 1/1/2021. So this they have told the transporters to be more fast. So they told you used to travel for 100 kilometers a day. Now you travel 200 kilometers a day. This is a major change which they have brought in Rule 21, that is suspension of registration. See, this is what I was telling, how the government or the GST Council is going so hard on the taxpayers. I think some disturbance is there. Jagan, there is some disturbance.
Sir, I think speaker, other than speaker, I request other than speaker, the participants to put yourself on mute. I can see Sir Mani sir, Ashok Kumar sir.
Some voice is coming.
Yeah. Ashok sir, can you put yourself on mute? And if in case of any queries, I think I'm seeing Srivatsan sir raising his hand. If there is any query, sir, you can put your queries on the chat box, sir. So,
yeah, chat box. Actually, what we can do is we can use the chat box for answers. So it will be easy. Otherwise, a lot of disturbance comes. So this is one major change which has got. So now what the officers have got more powers to suspend or cancel the registration. No, even no possibility to hear also is given. So if you see Rule 21, GST registration can be suspended on account of reconciliation difference between ITC, GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B. So if there is a difference between GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B, or if there is a ITC excess claimed in your 3B compared to 3B, they can suspend your registration. So if you are by mistake, if in your GSTR 1, if you mention instead of 50,000 rupees outward supply, 0.00, you forget that point. So 50,000 becomes 50 lakhs. So what happens? So 50,000 becomes 50 lakhs in GSTR 1, and suppose it is a quarterly return filer. Is a quarterly return filer in that QRMP scheme, and in the month of March, he by mistake mentions 50,000 as 50 lakh rupees. So in 3B, you should show 50 lakh rupees or 50,000 rupees, you should pay tax. In chat box, somebody can, you can reply in chat box.
Sir, Kuti sir, if you can mute Mr. C. Ashok Kumar sir, it is okay. I think he has.
One second.
Or you can mute, except yourself, you can mute all. I think you have that.
I'm seeing.
Jagan, I think you can do that. You are the program coordinator, right? I think you have the power to.
No, I have made Jagan as the co-host. But Jagan, you can also do.
Jagan can do it. Jagan can mute everyone.
Okay. Yeah, so my question is, suppose a quarterly return filer for the month of March, GSTR 1, he mentions 50,000 rupees. He should mention 50,000 rupees. By mistake, he mentions 50 lakhs. So that 0.0020 zeros are added, and tax also gets increased. So in 3B, what he will do? Will he pay tax or on 50 lakhs or 50,000 rupees? Hey, whose sound is coming? Somebody's sound is coming, no? Okay. Yeah, so I am muting him. He's again unmuting immediately. Okay. Yeah, so now what happens is in GSTR 1, suppose 50,000 you have shown in March, and if you are filing a 3B, instead of 50,000, 50 lakhs you have mentioned, of course, in GSTR 3B, you'll correct yourself and show 50,000 rupees only. Now what happens is immediately a notice will come. Immediately notice will come. I think his son or his kid is playing with the mobile, I think. So Rakesh Bair has told 50,000. Correct. So what happens is there will be a difference between GSTR 1, which is showing 50 lakhs, and then GSTR 3B, which is showing 50,000 rupees. So since it's a quarterly return, that is a QRMP scheme, you have to file only one GSTR 1 and one GSTR 3B. So notice will come immediately. You file 3B, within 1 week a notice will come and they will suspend your registration because there is a difference between GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B. So similarly, the case will be for GSTR 2B as well as ITC. So if there is any difference, your registration will be suspended. No opportunity of being heard will be given. So without giving an opportunity to you, the registration will be suspended. So what is the impact of the suspension? Impact is you cannot raise any taxable supplies because your registration is suspended. And if any refund is there, you cannot claim any refund for that period. Then again, there is a procedure where a notice will come for cancellation of registration, where you have to give a reply, and all those process will start. So this is the abundant power they have given to the officers, where without asking any details, just by seeing some data online, they suspend your registration and your business will get affected. So then again, cancellation of registration. The old provision, they could have cancelled the registration is you did not start the business. You took the registration, but you did not start the business. You issued tax invoices without actual supply of goods or services. Then section 171, which is on anti-profiteering, and rule 10A, that is bank account you didn't open within the prescribed time of your getting the GST registration. You did not open the bank account. In this situation, in old provisions, you could have the registration will be cancelled. Now they have added new provision. Now new provisions, any violation in section 16, they got the power to cancel the registration. So any provisions of section 16, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, any of the sections they can cancel the registration. Then again, outward supply in GSTR 1, excess of GSTR 3B, what we are talking about, and the violation of 86B, what we spoke, 99% ITC limit. So if you violate any of this provision, your registration is liable to be cancelled under Rule 21. So you can see how strict it has become. So without any opportunity to be heard, they can actually suspend or cancel your registration. So there was a big hue and cry with this provision. So clarification was issued by CBIC. I think we are muting him again. So there was a
sir. Sir, I think Ashok Kumar sir is not there. Maybe the phone is with the kids, somebody. Because I tried to call him 3-4 times, you didn't pick up. So maybe
I can put him in waiting room.
Further disturbance,
I put him in waiting room.
Okay.
Yeah. So let him wait and then call. So clarification has been issued by CBSE, stating that where there is a clerical error in filing of return, GSTN will not be cancelled. So how they are going to find out what is a clerical error, what is a genuine error, we don't know. Anyway, they have given the clarification. Only fraudulent cases where there are significant discrepancies based on data analytical and sound risk parameters and not mere clerical errors, the action of suspension and cancellation will be taken up. This is what I have been talking about. See, CBIC so far have booked 12,000 fraud cases. We are around 1.3 crore taxpayers in GST. In that 12,000 taxpayers actually are caught as for fraud cases. Just because of this 12,000, 1.3 crore taxpayers have been made to go through this rigorous process. Rather than making their system more perfect, what they have done is they are making all the innocent and honest taxpayers to go through this difficult path of GST. So that I think that there is a trust deficit between government and taxpayers. And even Honorable Nirmala Sitharaman, our finance minister, in the budget speech also told, our government would like to reassure taxpayers that we remain committed to taking measures so that our citizens are free from harassment of any kind. So they tell something and actually the action on the ground is something else. Srivatsan actually had raised a hand.
Yeah, I have a query, like I put it in the chat box also.
What was that?
What is the law stance as of today? Suppose for March 2020. Okay, if I raise a debit note today, whether it is I can claim the input.
For which year?
March 2020.
See, this amendment is actually introduced from 1/1/2021.
Okay.
Okay. So my view is any debit note which is raised after 1/1/2021, you can actually take the credit.
Okay, it may pertain to any year.
Any year.
Very good.
Year.
Very good amendment actually.
But even if you actually had raised a debit note previously which did not meet this rule, if it is a substantial amount, you can go for litigation definitely, because you can actually take the credit. But from 1/1/2021, any debit note subsequent to that, because the rule itself is changed after that, so debit note is delinked with the invoice. So you can actually take the credit. So that is one. And Sachin has asked a question: is GSTR 1 of subsequent month shall be filed for amendment of invoice, 3B of current month shall be filed for 50,000. Yeah. So I knew this query will come, because see why that is the reason I spoke of QRMP scheme. If it was GSTR 1 monthly filer, then immediately next month you could have corrected it. But since it is a quarterly return filer, you can file your GSTR 1 only quarterly after that quarter is over. So you cannot change that GSTR 1. That is one. Second is they can actually, before you file your next GSTR 1, before that itself, they can suspend your registration. So suppose you file your GSTR 3B on 20th or 22nd of the month, and there is a difference. So there is a time lag of 10-15 days when your next GSTR 1 will be amended. In that 10-15 days itself, they can take a call and suspend your registration. So before you can correct, they will correct you.
In QRMP also, you can amend the B2B, I think so.
In QRMP, you'll be filing IFF only, invoice furnishing facility.
Correct, but you can amend B2B.
In which one?
In QRMP, IFF.
Exactly, but here what I'm talking about is GSTR much you file in quarter, not
Quarter,
IFF.
you can amend that invoice in the next month. That's what I'm saying. You need not wait for the GSTR
Jagan,
1 of the...
Ashok Kumar is asking to admit here. Should I admit?
Yes, sir, I spoke to him. So he's with the phone now and he's on mute. Okay.
Sir, could you hear me?
Yes, Satish, we can hear you.
Yeah, super. Yes. Sir, the delinking of debit note with the invoices, which we discussed. Of course, I understand that it is an prospective effect maybe after 1st April 2021, right?
Yeah.
See, this is a beneficial provision. The government has brought this amendment to avoid our unintended difficulties. Why we should not apply retrospectively?
You can apply. You can apply, Satish, but government also should apply, no?
No,
That's
see,
why
actually,
litigation. You
definitely, yeah, department may challenge. So still, we can try this option.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I told Srivatsan. No, you can definitely take it.
No. What I'm saying is that before 1st April 2021.
Yes, you can take it. You can take it if the amount is substantial.
Okay.
See, if your amount is not substantial, litigation cost also you have to see, no?
Yeah.
So if you can definitely take if the amount is substantial.
That is client headaches, not our headache.
Yeah. So you have to advise. So GSTR 1, again, restriction in filing GSTR 1. So before, what used to happen is everybody used to file GSTR 1. GSTR 3B you will not file. So credit will go to the other party, and if you 1 year, 1.5 years continuously GSTR 1 is filed, but 3B is not filed. So now they have amended rule 59.5, where they have told you can file GSTR 1 only if all the GSTR 3B is filed. If GSTR 3B is not filed for the last preceding 2 months, GSTR 1 will be blocked. Whoever is filing quarterly, he should have filed GSTR 3B for the previous quarter. Otherwise, GSTR 1 cannot be filed. Then taxpayer who is restricted from using amount available in electronic credit ledger to discharge his liability towards tax in excess of 99%. So 86B cases where 1% has to be paid in cash. If he has also not filed GSTR 3B for the previous tax period, GSTR 1 will be blocked. So now it has become very important. The echo is coming. My audio is clear?
Sir, it is clear actually. Shrikant sir has joined, I think.
Okay.
And we need to mute. So 43 participants, lot of members.
Okay, so it is. So what has happened is now it has become very important for all the taxpayers to do a KYS, know your supplier. So it's not only KYC, you should know your KYS. So you should do a screening of your supplier and see whether he is genuine. You can categorize your suppliers into A, B, C. So A is a supplier who is very genuine, B is somewhere he is between, and C is hopeless supplier. So you can categorize your suppliers into 3 categories. And
சொல்லுங்க ஜெகன் மீட்ல தான் இருக்கு.
Hey, you can just mute Srikant sir.
மியூட் தான் சார்.
Okay. So it's very important to know your supplier, but that also you can know only to a certain extent. You cannot actually go inside your supplier's factory or your account and analyze 100% about your supplier. Risk factor is there, but it is very important to know your supplier now and ensure the materials or the services from whom you are taking, the supplier is genuine and you are getting the credit. Again, 36.4. So I'll come to a question once this section is, this rule is over on 86B and 36.4. So 36.4 is again something which I'm talking about where power rule is overpowering an act. So 36.4 was introduced in 9th October 2019. So what was it? 2B, those time it was 2A. You can take in October 2019 20% excess of 2A. Then from 1/1/2021 they may reduce it to 10%. So if you have got an eligible credit, you can take in 3B up to a maximum of 10% excess of 2A. from 1/1/2021, they have reduced further to 5%. So now, if you have not got a credit, you have got a genuine bill, but you don't have a credit in 2B, you cannot take it. You can take up to a maximum of 5% in excess of 2B, which is now as on today. So 36(4) is a CGST rule. Now I want to ask the viewers, is this rule valid? 86B, which I already spoke of, and rule 36(4), will it stand the test in the court of law? Is it a valid rule?
It will not stand in the court of law, definitely. Because when you have a genuine purchase, you have an invoice, old 19 VAT. So same rule will apply, but these fellows will keep on giving notification and even confuse the court.
Yeah. So 43A was introduced. See, section 43A was introduced in Finance Act 2020. This was introduced basically to bring that new return process where there was a Sugam and then Saral and all those return process was there. So 43A was introduced. In that 43A section, there was subsection 4, which actually contained this 20% rule, which could reduce as per the directions of GST Council and all those thing was there in that act. But this 43A never got notified. So 43A act was there but never got notified. So we have got a situation where 36(4) is there, where it says there is a restriction on claiming the ITC, whereas section 16, which is the section to claim ITC. Now section 16 subsection 2 of CGST Act generally has 4 conditions to meet to get ITC. So what is the first condition? First condition is you should have a valid tax invoice or a debit note. To take an ITC, the first condition is valid tax invoice and debit note. Second condition is you should have received those goods or services. Third condition is tax should have been paid to the government. And fourth condition is return should be filed. Return should be filed by whom? By the recipient. So these are the only 4 conditions. Fifth condition has come now, which I'll talk later. But 4 conditions, if you meet, you can take the ITC. So once you have these 4 conditions in your hand, you're meeting all the 4 conditions, though 16(3), where the tax has been paid to the government, that itself is a very challenging part. But how can they come with a new rule which restricts the power given under the Act? So this was, there are a lot of case laws also which which will come in, which I'll explain you. But this rule itself is actually ultra vires. It doesn't have the power. But yes, if you don't obey this rule, notices will come and litigation will be there. So that is one issue. So one of the basic principles on which the idea of implementation of GST in India was seamless flow of credit. But government with this restriction has vanished the word seamless. So there is no seamless now. Due to various restrictions in the law, as of now, seamless flow of input tax credit does not seem to be a reality. It is well stated principle that substantial benefit of credit should not be denied to the default by the vendor. So if you see the case law of KK Industries, Supreme Court judgment, what it says is supplier, a recipient cannot be penalized for the mistake of a supplier. So if supplier has done a crime, you cannot come and punish the recipient. Bharati Telemedia case in Delhi High Court, where they filed the GSTR 3B in excess of 963 crores or something compared to the ITC. This happened when the GST was introduced in 2017, July, August and September, these 3 months. By mistake, they took extra credit in their 3B, because that time 2B was not there, 2A is not there. There was no mechanism to check the ITC. So Delhi High Court passed the judgment telling you can take the credit if you have got the documentary proof, and even if it is not coming in your 3B, in your 2A, you can take the credit. A famous case of Narmada Bachao Andolan, Supreme Court, a very beautiful world. You cannot make a person do impossible things. You cannot make a taxpayer do impossible. Now, when you're telling a supplier has to pay the tax to the government, it is not in the hands of the recipient to ensure the supplier is making tax payment to the government. It is not possible for the recipient to ensure that condition. How can a recipient go to the supplier's premises or supplier's place and force him to make the payment? Once he has made the payment to the supplier, it is the responsibility of the supplier to make the payment to the government. So, law does not expect a party to do impossible things. So now, because of this, so many restrictions and conditions, what has happened? First, the taxpayer, he has to see whether 16.1, 16.2, whether he can avail the ITC. If he knows he can avail the ITC, he has to see whether it is a blocked credit. Once he passes through that block credit, then he has to see whether that credit has come in his 2A, 2B. Once it has come in 2A, 2B, he has to ensure his vendor has made the payment to the government. Then he has to see the conditions of 105%. Then rule 42, 43, 42, where you have to segregate into taxable, not taxable, exempted, not exempted. You have to bifurcate your ITC based on rule 42. 43 is for capital goods. Then 86B, 86A, that means so many things he has to check in ITC. More than the production team, he has to have a bigger team for checking the ITC. So ITC, you should have a small SME should have a people of 10 accounts team to check whether your ITC is in proper condition. So this is the kind of rigorous ITC conditions you have to meet to take that ITC. Rather, most of the companies can decide, I will not take the ITC, I'll write it off as expense itself. So this is what it's a seamless credit what government has brought for ITC. This is the fifth clause. The fifth condition they have brought in section 16. Now, as you know, 43A, when I was talking, 43A was introduced, but was never notified. So government knew they are going to lose this case of 36(4) in the court. So what they did, very beautifully, they amended section 16(2) itself. And they brought in a clause AA. So what is this clause AA? Clause AA says, so previously there were only 4 conditions. That is, you should have a tax invoice, you should have received the goods and services, tax should have been paid to the government, and return should have been filed. Now, after first condition, they have brought one more condition telling the supplier should have filed the GSTR1, and this GSTR1 should be communicated to the recipient in GSTR2B. Then only you can claim the ITC. So this is the fifth condition which they have introduced now to take ITC to overcome the lacuna of 36(4). So what 36(4) was actually acting without any power of the act. Now they have amended 16 section and brought in 16A. So you can see the intention of the government. They just by hook and crook want to deny you the ITC and the benefit what was actually originally envisaged. So the amendment is to overcome the legal lacuna of 36(4) and 100% versus 105%. So that is taken care of now. Recovery from both supplier as well as recipient. Now, see what happens is you tell the recipient you take the action against recipient and tell him to reverse the credit. Simultaneously, you go to the supplier and recover from him also. So he has filed a GSTR1 and he has not filed his GSTR3B. You start a prosecution or suspension or cancellation of registration and prosecution against the supplier, and do a separate procedure there, and here for the recipient, you reverse the ITC. So who is getting benefited in this? Doubly, the government is getting benefited, because here one ITC gets reversed and the recipient pays the tax for that. And here he recovers from the supplier also. So this is the pity of this amendment. Again, from 1/4/2021, HSN code has been amended. Before that, what was the minimum for till 1.5 crores? I want to hear in the chat box, see in chat box, what was the HSN code applicable till 1.5 crores turnover? Till 1.5 crores turnover. I think only Srivatsan has answered. $1.5 crore, nothing. Yes. 1.5 crores to 5 crores, 2. And above 5 crores, it is 4. Now they have amended. What they have told is till 5 crores turnover, 4-digit HSN code is a compulsory. And above 5 crores, it is 6-digit. So this is applicable only for tax invoice. So if you have got a taxable supply, on taxable supply, you have to mention, if your turnover is less than 5 crores, minimum 4-digit HSN code. If it is more than 5 crores, 6-digit. Zero rated supply export invoices, whether HSN code has to be mentioned or not. For zero rated supply export invoices, whether HSN code has to be mentioned or not. Raghavan has told mandatory. Yes. Rakesh has told yes. Yes. Because exports, zero rated supply also is a taxable supply. Though it is told zero rated, it is a taxable supply. HSN code has to be mentioned. Then e-invoicing. So e-invoicing, when it was introduced, it was compulsory for SSCs having turnover more than 500 crores. Then it became compulsory for the turnover above 100 crores. And now it has become compulsory from 1/1/2021 above 50 crores. So a registered person, it is not applicable to a SEZ unit, an insurance company, a banking or a financial company, NBFCs, a goods transport agent, supplier of passenger transport service, supplier of services by way of admission to exhibition of cinematographic films in multiplex. So it's not applicable to them. Other than that, all the registered person having turnover exceeding 50 crores in any of the preceding financial year, 17-18 onwards, should comply with e-invoicing. So again, one query, if any of the one of the years, now from 2017-18, now you know the pandemic has come. So suppose in 2017-18, a particular taxpayer has a turnover of 50 crores. Because of the recession, the turnover came to 30 crores. And again, because of pandemic, again, it is never crossed 50 crores. So is he supposed to comply with e-invoicing? Rakesh Ved, yes. Arvind, yes. Yes. Only 2. Srivasan, yes. Yes, of course. Because they say any preceding financial year from 2017-18. So any of the financial year, if you cross 50 crores, you have to comply with e-invoicing. So again, e-invoicing is nothing but getting an IRN number from the portal. Every invoice issued by a person to whom sub-rule 4 applies in any manner other than the manner specified. So e-invoice shall be treated as a normal tax invoice. The original tax invoice, where you have to give one to the original to the recipient, duplicate to the transporter, triplicate to yourself. For e-invoicing, it is not applicable, it is exempted. So once you raise an invoice, even a soft copy of invoice also will do. So that is for e-invoice. Then I come to quickly, I'll cover QRMP scheme, since it is an old scheme, but I'll just rush through this. So QRMP scheme is basically for the turnover up to 5 crores. So if you're having a turnover up to 5 crores, pan wise. So if you're all over aggregate turnover throughout the country exceeds, is less than 5 crores, you can opt for QRMP scheme. QRMP scheme, can you take it? Now, suppose you have got 10 branches. Can 5 branch take QRMP? 5 branch take regular? Is it possible?
Not possible.
So some you take 5 branches, you can take QRMP scheme. 5 branches you can take.
Not possible.
Anybody?
Not possible.
Yes, possible.
Yes. Yeah. Again, one more. Anybody else? Come on. Only Arvind possible. Chandil possible. Rakesh Berry. Yes, actually it is possible. It is actually 5 crores turnover for determining whether you are eligible, but each branch wise you can select whether you want to choose QRMP scheme or you want to go with regular. So one of the branch will be in QRMP scheme, one of the branch can be in regular scheme also. So it is possible. QRMP or monthly filing can be availed GST and VICE. IAFF option. So what happens is first 2 months you don't file GSTR 1. You can file. It is not compulsory to file IAFF, that is invoice furnishing facility. So if you want, you can file, or if your recipient is telling you to give him credit in 2B, you can file IAFF. You can choose in this scheme. So suppose you are in the normal regular scheme, you can choose this scheme 2 months before that quarter or 1 month in that quarter. So suppose we are in May now, and April to June already the time is over. So July to September, you can choose from 1st May 2021 till July 31st, 2021. So 3 months window is open to choose the QRMP scheme. Default migration, so we will not go into default because that time is already over for default. Who can opt out? So you can, once you are in QRMP scheme, you can opt out also. Automatic opt out is if you cross 5 crores turnover. So if you are in the QRMP scheme this month, this quarter, and you cross 5 crores, next quarter you automatically go out of the QRMP scheme. Or again, the same window of 3 months is open to opt out of the QRMP scheme voluntary. So IAFF is optional. First 2 months you have to file IAFF. Maximum till 50 lakhs of invoices value only you can upload every month. So more than that you are not supposed to upload. Window is open till the first 13 days of the subsequent month. After 13, this facility will not be available, and same has to be furnished in quarterly GSTR 1. Major benefit is invoice. It will reflect in 2A, 2B if you file this for the recipient. With whichever IAFF you have filed, it gets auto-populated in GSTR 1. You need not fill again. Only the balance invoices you have to enter in GSTR 1, and only B2B invoices and any debit note, credit note pertaining to that B2B only has to be mentioned in IAFF. So no B2C has to be mentioned in IAFF. Again, monthly payment option, you have to pay by 25th of the subsequent month. So even though it is a quarterly filing, monthly payment has to be done. So payment has to be done to PMT 06. So there is two methods you have to adopt. Either one method is fixed sum method, and one more method is self-assessment method. Fixed sum method is whatever in the previous quarter you have paid. 35% you pay in the first month, 35% you pay in the second month, and the balance, whatever difference comes, you pay in the third month. So that is a fixed sum. If it is a monthly filing, you do 100% of what you paid in the previous month, you pay in the first month, second month, and the differential portion in the third month. So that is the fixed sum. Self-assessment is you assess yourself, how much is your output, how much is your input, and every month you calculate and pay. And third month, you pay the difference with interest. So 3B, again, quarterly 3B due date, 23rd, 24th of the succeeding quarter. So all the outward supply ITC you have to take in 3B. Amount, whatever deposited in first 2 months, you can adjust in the 3B what you file. So this I am not going in detail. Interest has to be paid on 18% for the late payment. There is no late fee for IFF, late fee only for GSTR 1 and 3B. So the GSTR 1 has to be filed 13th day of the first following quarter. IFF 1st to 13th day. Again, I'll come. There is a breather for IFF this month because of pandemic. PMT 06, 25th of the subsequent month for the first 2 months, and GSTR 3B, which is 22nd and 24th. So this is pertaining to QRMP scheme. Now I'll come to changes which is proposed in Finance Act 2021, still not notified. It has been, the president has given his assent, but still not notified. Zero rated supply. Now see how government is restricting. When I'm telling, they're totally behind this ITC. I know what is the reason. So there are 2 changes which they have brought in zero rated supply. Now what are these 2 big changes? The first change is the definition of zero rated supply itself. Now, before this amendment, Section 16 of IGST Act told zero rated supply is what? Either export or supplies to SEZ unit or SEZ developer. Simple. That was the only 2 conditions. Rule to get the refund, what they told? Refund for if it is supplied to a SEZ unit should be for authorized operations. Act never told it has to be for authorized operation. Act told if any supplies to SEZ unit or developer is a zero rated supply. Refund when you are claiming for ITC, they told for authorized operations. So to close that lacuna, they amended Section 16 and they included authorized operations also in the definition of supplies to zero rate to SEZ unit. And the second major amendment what they have got is there are 2 types of refunds you can get when you're exporting. One is ITC, accumulated ITC, and second is the refund of IGST itself. So accumulated ITC is once when you are exporting without IGST. So without IGST, if you're exporting all the accumulated ITC, you can claim as refund. The second option is whatever ITC is available, you charge IGST on the export invoices, claim that input tax credit and take the IGST itself as the refund. So a lot of government found a lot of fraud happening in that area where non-eligible ITC also was claimed as refund. So now what they have told is for all the taxpayers, this route will not be available. Most of the taxpayers has to go through this refund of ITC rule only, and they will specify the taxpayers who can actually take this refund of IGST route. So now what happens? Capital goods, you cannot claim ITC refund now. ITC of only input and input services refund is allowed. Refund of capital goods not allowed. This IGST refund route, you could have adjusted capital goods ITC and taken the refund. Now that route also is blocked. So ITC, you have to adjust against your outward and refund will not be received. Second is delay in the refund receipts. You know how difficult it has become to get the refunds, and it was always easier to get refunds if it is in the IGST refund route. ITC, accumulated ITC refund route, it was always difficult. Now, because of this amendment, there will be delay in refund. Lot of paperwork and verification, officer involvement. You know, when there is officer involved, what happens? Lot of handshaking will be happening, and ITC will not be refunded in such case if invoice is not reflected in 2A. So there is this major change in zero rated supply to restrict the refunds. So this was always a matter of debate, where in our GST study circle also we had a heated argument on this, on whether GST is applicable to clubs and associations. So it's a famous case of Calcutta Club where Honorable Supreme Court passed the judgment in favor of the taxpayer and told service tax is not applicable to the clubs. So the similar provisions are brought in GST. Government got worried. Arey Baba, even in GST now this will go. So to safeguard themselves, they have amended section 7, the supply definition itself, they have amended section 7 and inserted AA, where they have told even any supply from the members or the non-individuals to the members also now it is a supply. So an explanation also was introduced. See, the beauty of this amendment, you might have never seen an amendment like this, where in the explanation they have included this section is applicable notwithstanding any court order, notwithstanding any tribunal order. So such amendment have you seen where an act is being amended telling they will not consider anything which a court passes a judgment or a tribunal passes a judgment. Whatever this is there, this is final. So this is the irony of this amendment, where in explanation itself they have told you cannot take the judgment of a court. But again, even though they have amended this, the basic principles of Calcutta Club, where a member and an association are not two different people, they are one. It doesn't die down. It is still a very active case. And I'm sure again the court will come to the rescue of the taxpayers. But for the safeguard of the taxpayers, what is generally advised is let everybody comply with the GST as of now, because there is an amendment in the Act. And when you are paying the GST, you pay GST under protest. You write a letter to the department telling we are paying this amount under protest, and tomorrow if there is a favorable judgment, we will be asking for a refund. So it's always better to keep the department informed that you are paying this amount in protest, because tomorrow if there is a favorable judgment, you have got a high chance you can take all this amount as a refund. Power to call information. I think this section is amended, where it was before power to call for statistics. Now they have told power to call for information. So now they can direct any person to give information. So it's again a very stringent provision, which I will not go into detail. Yeah, so this is the burning issue among chartered accountants, where they say 9C audit is gone. So there is no GST audit. So per se there was no GST audit. It was a reconciliation statement to be certified by a chartered accountant. So now that is gone with this amendment, which is still to be notified. So annual return GSTR 9 under section 44 exists. No, in that form itself, now there is going to be a reconciliation statement where it will be self-certified by the taxpayer. So CA need not certify. So the big responsibility from our head is gone now to certify somebody's outward and inward supplies. Though this amendment may not be applicable for the financial year 2021, because President has given the accent now only for the CGST Act amendment. There are 29 SGST Acts which has to be amended. So 29 SGST Act amendment during this pandemic will take another 6 months to 9 months to get amended, because the assemblies will meet only once the things are normal. So my assumption is this audit for GST reconciliation statement for 2021 will be there. only possibilities of from next month, next year, this will go. But do you really think this is a lost opportunity for a chartered accountant or a cost accountant? Is it if we have lost a big amount of money, or this opportunity is permanently gone for us? Do you really think?
First of all, this amendment will not come.
Oh,
First of all, this amendment itself will not come. Okay. So there are a lot of work going on background. Okay. So this removal of GST audit itself will be removed.
I'll tell you why. See what has I put it in the right side. See, basically this was proposed by a lot of trade associations. And if you see the why this government came out with this amendment was because most of the tax collection was happening in GSTR 9. So GSTR 9 additional tax collection was 3,000 crores, an additional tax of 500 crores. Whereas if you see 9C, it was a very minimal tax collection happening, though you can always say 9 also was happening because of our effort only. But then that is to say, but if you see the 9C, the revenue was less. So trade association forcing them because the cost of 9C was high, whereas the tax collection because of 9C was low, made the department or the government think, okay, this is not a fruitful exercise, had to drop this provision. So maybe our institute is doing their best to again bring it back. But my main question is whether is it really a lost opportunity for a chartered accountant? That is my question. Is it?
Okay, I don't think so, because we do have a lot of other productive and then consultation work in GST. With the notifications coming every 1 hour, we have a lot of confusions and we need to guide our clients properly. So audit is not the only avenue for our earning. That is what I would say.
See, I would like to add, do you think 90% of the clients can do 9 without our help? They cannot do. They require...
None of the clients are able to do it.
They cannot do.
They are not able to do it because some of the fields even we have to take clarification before giving the final go.
Yeah, so exactly.
Right? Every time the fields keep changing, and a couple of times I had to ask the fellow professional what it is really, and the form which was yesterday, today it is changed.
Exactly.
Right?
So
definitely it is not a lost opportunity. Only the certification is gone.
That is a good thing for us. We did not take the headache of signing a 9C now.
Correct.
Now actually we can guide him and tell you only sign, and we can give all the advice and take that money also.
Exactly,
so
exactly.
It's not a lost opportunity. Actually, it's good for us. And I don't think we have to be so upset. Okay, 9C is gone, audit is gone. No, I think definitely, I think it is so many other opportunities of litigation. I think it's a big area of litigation, which I think you should, all the chartered accountants who are practicing GST should go into, because that is a big area, I think, which is going to come out. So don't worry, 9C, even if it's gone, 9, they have attached 9C in 9. So opportunity is there. So that is regarding. Then again, interest, section 50, lot of hue and cry. Starting they told it's on gross. So many notices were sent on gross. Then they came out and told it is on net. Then GST Council met and told no, it will be in net. Then they came out with amendment in the act telling it will be prospective. Department came out with notice telling no, okay, the previous period you have to pay in gross. Then they came with a circular telling no, don't take anything on gross, take on net. Finally, after so much of effort, they amended the section 50 and brought very clearly it should be only on the cash component, not on the total. And first time a benefit of an SS for a taxpayer, they made a retrospective amendment. So a retrospective amendment from 1/7/2017, section 50. So good for us. Things are clear. So whoever has...
Can I interrupt at this point?
Yeah.
What happened to the genuine taxpayers who have paid proper interest? Proper means, see, one of my clients have got, suppose the liability is 1 lakh, the input will be 95,000. I asked him to pay interest on 1 lakh, and he has been doing it for.
Yeah, I'm coming to that only. I'm coming to that only. So whoever has paid their interest on gross now claim refund. So whoever has paid on gross can claim refund, because now it is a retrospective amendment. You can claim refund. So I think you should start immediately the process of refund so that it doesn't become time bar.
Is there any particular form? Please guide us.
No, you have to do it through RFD 01. If it is not happening, through a regular with a letter with the department. Again, invoices declared in GSTR1 if unpaid, recovery proceedings. See, it's so pity, just to catch a few fraud people, they've amended section 7512 itself, where they say if GSTR1 and GSTR3B there is a difference, no show cause notice under 73-74, directly recovery proceedings. So this is basically to catch hold of those fraud people who run away immediately. But what happens is even the genuine taxpayers will get affected because of this. If there is a small mistake from their side, immediately their bank account may be frozen and collected, the amount may be collected from the bank account. Recovery proceedings can be initiated. So very stringent provision. And this is the last one in this. How a power is given to the officer. You can see a lot of cases happening in this e-way bill nowadays, where the detention of vehicle happens. Vehicle is caught on the road and taken to the checkpost. And so this is section 129. See what is the changes they have brought. There are two types of a mistake. Either you voluntarily accept you have done a mistake. Second is you don't voluntarily accept. So suppose if you voluntarily accept, no, I have done a mistake. So small error in e-way bill also, the vehicles are detained. Look at the amount of tax and penalty they have to pay. If your goods are taxable and you accept you have done a mistake, before it was tax plus 100% of tax as penalty. Now what they have told is tax plus 200% of tax as penalty. So it has become double. If you are exempted, there is no much change. If you are exempted, it's still 2% of the value of the goods or 25,000, whichever is less, it remains the same. If you fight the case, so you don't accept I have done a mistake and you fight, what is the penalty that time? Tax plus 50% of the value of the goods at present has been increased to tax plus 50% of the value of the goods or 200% of tax as penalty, whichever is higher. Look at the irony. If a vehicle with a small mistake in e-way bill is caught, how much penalty and tax he has to pay. Now, my one question is there. If, and this is a practical example which happens for many of the SSCs in Hosur also, your vehicle is going to Bangalore. There is some small error in your e-way bill. Vehicle is caught somewhere in Bangalore. They take the vehicle directly to Koramangala and they seize the vehicle. My question is, you are a registered taxpayer in Tamil Nadu, Hosur. Vehicle is caught in Bangalore. Invoice contains all the mistake. E-way bill, there is a small mistake. Can an officer in Bangalore issue you a notice? Which is happening. They are issuing notice. But can an officer in Bangalore issue you a notice legally? Possible? See, legally speaking, if you are a registered person, a notice under section 73, 74 or under section 729 can come only from a proper officer. And that proper officer is none other than your jurisdictional officer. Only your jurisdictional officer has got a power to send you a notice or do an inquiry on you. That is the reason if you see, whenever a vehicle is caught, they don't issue notice in your name. They create a new ID. They create a temporary ID or they create an ID in the name of transporter and issue a notice and take the money.
What in
Right?
case they already issued in some other name, say a Bangalore or a Bangalore, your flying squad have issued a notice in name of a Hosur SSC. In that case, you have to make the payment and release your vehicle because the material.
Exactly. That's what I'm telling. See, what happens is this is a force because your vehicle is stuck and you are forced to release the vehicle.
Right.
You actually bend down and pay the money and get the vehicle released. But getting that refund is a big task because the first authority, that is the Joint Commissioner Appeal, doesn't give you because they are also department. So they don't do any favor to you by giving a favorable judgment. There is no appellate. Till now, there is no appellate. It is not being notified. So there is no appellate. So there is no mechanism for you to get that refund till now. Even though, okay, when tribunal comes, there may be, because the time limit is there, you can get it. But then in today's situation, you cannot. So what happens is you can actually hit the door of a high court if the amount is huge. There are so many writs filed in high court. So you can actually go, that is the reason I'm coming in the next slide. So if you go to the bond, what happens? Your vehicle is stuck.
Yeah, I have one more question in this regards. In case we are applying for a refund, so I have to apply for my jurisdictional officer only for a refund.
No, you cannot, because you cannot apply in your notice. No, because what happens is you have actually paid the tax in some other jurisdiction.
Right.
It is not in your GST. You cannot apply refund in your jurisdiction because he will say you have not paid to me. You have paid to the other government. So actually there is a process where you don't have a user ID also for that.
Right.
So you have to file a manual refund application and go for the refund.
Right.
So now see what is the best option is, if you want the goods to be released urgently, there is an option of security. So what you can do is, instead of paying the tax and penalty and asking for refund, you can actually give as a security, release the goods, go to the high court, file a writ possibility, so that your goods, if it is perishable, doesn't get affected. And even if your customer wants the goods, immediately it can be released. So security is one option. Bond was there, which they have removed now, because many people used to take the route of bond. So government became smart and they have removed bond. Now, if you start using security too much, I'm sure within 6 months, they'll remove security also. So now in today's situation, you can take security of the value of the goods and release the goods. Before that, there was no time limit to issue notice or order. Now they have given a time limit. As soon as the goods are detained, within 7 days, they have to issue a notice. As soon as they give a notice, within 7 days, they have to give an order. So these are the few things. And if you fail to pay within 15 days and goods are lying there, before that, they will confiscate the goods and convey. What confiscation? Goods are already with them. What more they can do? Now they have again made it more stringent. They can sell those goods and including the vehicle. So that transport vehicle, somebody else, that also they can sell. So now for the benefit of transporter, what they have told is you pay 1 lakh rupees penalty and you can take the vehicle. Let the goods be there. You can take the vehicle. So look at the what is happening in our country. So all loot is happening. So basically, these are the amendments which has happened. And Srivatsan was asking on the changes which because of COVID, what are the relief? I don't think any much relief is given. It is only for the namesake, like little water here and there they have thrown. So it is for 5 crores and above turnover. Nothing means what they have got. They have just late fee extended for 15 days for April and May month. Interest is still applicable, 9% interest for the first 15 days, 18% for the next 15 days. Less than 5 crores for April and May. Late fee for 30 days waived off. Interest 15 days waived off. Then again for next 15 days, 9% above that. After that, 18%. So that is one. 36(4) rule is again because since GST are 1 for April, they have extended the date till May 26th. So 2B anyway, the credit will not come. So they have given some benefit of 2B. 36(4) need not be followed for the month of April. Cumulatively for April and May, you can use it in May. So that is one. GSTR 4 they've extended by 1 month. ITC 04 extended by 1 month. IFF, it used to be for 13 days. The whole May month can be used to fill IFF. So that is one benefit they have given. So these are the things for and one more thing which I want to, one second. Yesterday, some few amendments have come. So that I will just quickly rush through yesterday's. This is basically for refund cases. Now what happens is you file, there is a 2 years window, within 2 years relevant date, you have to file your refund application. I think everybody is aware of. So refund has to be filed within 2 years. 2 years for goods means if it is exported, then within 2 years of that export, or if it's a service, if the foreign currency from 2 years from the receipt of foreign currency within 2 years. Now what happens, you file your refund application, then there is a process of refund notice will be issued. You have to give a reply to the notice. So it is a time period lag between the application and once you get refund. Now what happens in GST, if there is a deficiency in your refund, you have to apply fresh. You have to apply fresh with clearing all the deficiency. Now you fag end of the 2 years, you file your RFD 01 and then there is a show cause notice received and you apply fresh. That means you have crossed the 2 years and there is a high possibility your refund application will get rejected because of time bar. So now they have amended the rule 90, where says the period between the refund application and that order, the deficiency memo, this period will be excluded for the purpose of this time period of 2 years. So this is one amendment they have got. Then again, once you file for refund application, there was no method to withdraw that application. So suppose by mistake there was some error and you want to rectify that error, there was no method to rectify that refund application. Now they have made brought a new form called RFD01W, where you can withdraw that refund application. So this all is as per the notification 15 issued yesterday. Then again, revocation of cancellation of registration. Tamil Nadu government actually brought a notification telling any revocation, any suspension or cancellation of registration between 15th of March 2020 and 15th of March 2021. They extended the date. So now central tax itself with the notification, what they have told is actually a revocation application has to be filed within 30 days of the cancellation. If you miss that 30 days vote, then there is no possibility of revocation of your cancellation. Now they have amended Rule 23. They told 30 days window is open. Beyond 30 days, it is the jurisdiction of the additional commissioner, joint commissioner, or the commissioner. They can extend the date of 30 days. So now that circular also has come today, where they say regarding this revocation, till 30 days is automatic online. More than 30 days to 60 days, it will be one process of joint commissioner, and above 60 days, it is in the hands of commissioner. So it is this revocation which there is a big change. Otherwise, I think these are the latest amendment. So you can see how GST is becoming difficult and difficult day by day. And it is a good practice for all our members, because as it becomes complicated, our role becomes more important. And I think let us pray it becomes more complicated so that our scope increases more. But what I think this government is doing is not right. The original initial launch of GST, lot of hue and cry telling, oh, it will be very simple. It is going to make things very easy for taxpayers. I think that is not the case now. Even the small taxpayers, if you see the e-invoicing, how it is coming, and how the ITC is getting blocked for notices are coming for ITC, I think it is very tough in future. So let us hope. So with this, I will wind up my session. I hope any doubt is there? I think any query is there.